So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through these keys and we're going to try to clean up a lot of this dust and buildup that's on these. I did a little bit of that work earlier, but there's still, I don't know, the back halves of the keys still are pretty dirty. If we can get these kind of cleaned up, then we can really go on to the next phase and start actually working towards getting the tops put back on, the new ones. So we got Lily here to help me, and she is going to help us clean. So
is there gonna be fish hooks?
There will be no fish hooks.
Whoa!
So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start cleaning these.
So just scrub it?
We are wearing masks because we found a mouse nest under the keyboard, and we thought it probably would be best, since we're gonna make some dust, to put our masks on and keep ourselves safe that way. We also have garage doors open for some airflow to help carry the extra dust away. So just a little bit of precaution to keep us a little safer. So I've been working for a while. I had Lily helping me earlier, but this is the result of what I've got done so far. I've got about 12 keys done to the set that I've fully sanded down. So you can see these are much cleaner now. I'll show you what they looked like before. So this is probably a good representation of what they looked like before I started sanding. I went through the first night I got the piano and did a little bit of sanding right there where the numbers are, if you can see those. But everything else is filthy, and it's just caked on years of dirt and dust, and probably, you know, mice and bugs and all that kind of stuff too. So wanted to get really down to something cleaner and nicer to use. So that's where, you know, these other keys that have been sanded are right now. One other thing I'll show you here. I didn't get this on video, but I spent a night last week sanding inside the piano. This is the area in the key bed where we had that mouse nest. Let me see if I can make it a little brighter here on the fly. Maybe that's a little nicer. We had the mouse nest in here. So I actually went through again and I sanded everything down here, down to 400 grit, and got a lot of caked in dust and stuff out. It's a little bit orange looking right now because I actually went through and took an oil with some orange cleaner in it. So it colored the wood ever so slightly, mostly probably because of the oil. But it actually took out the smell that was in here. So it kind of stunk a little bit from remnants of that mouse nest. And now that we've gone through and got rid of all that gunk, sanded down into the wood a little bit, and then put the orange oil cleaner here in the wood, it went through and actually got it pretty clean. Probably not going to put that orange oil cleaner everywhere, especially on the raw wood, just because of the color it leaves it. But in this case, to get rid of that smell, I thought it was worth going through that effort to do that.
So here is where I'd like to give you a little bit of a voiceover work with me going through the process where you can see it in an over-the-shoulder type of view. So this key I started off with, you can see cleaning the top surfaces. So I'm going through right now by hand with the sanding block. I've got 220 grit paper on this, like I said before. So I'm going through and I'm just really just trying to get the surface dirt and grime off of these keys. As you can see on this top key button, they've got the curved edges, and so I'm working with the sanding block to follow the contour of those edges to clean that full surface to get any grime and gunk off of there. So as I work my way down the key, I do kind of some cross-directional sanding. So I'll sand along the length of the key, which is kind of along the length of the grain. But then I also do go back and forth perpendicular to the grain so that it seems to get more of that cleaning effect if I do that rather than only going with the grain. So then this area on top of the keys, I actually have some of these keys still have a little bit of glue residue from where the action cloth felt was glued down. For the most part, I got it off, but in some areas I still had a little bit left, so it tended to not come off with sanding very easily, so I was trying to just scrape that glue and get back down to the wood. And once I got the glue off, I could sand that back down. And for the most part, it would come off with my fingernails. Occasionally, I need to go and get just kind of like a box cutter or knife to scrape underneath the glue to get the rest of it off. But for the most part, that's all it took. So I just work my way down the top. I go around that screw. I'll adjust the sandpaper and stuff a little bit on the block to try to get under the screw head a little bit. But for the most part, it's just going through until I'm happy with how clean the wood looks. I find that light pressure and trying to get more movements in seems to work better than trying to push really hard. And it also helps to not, if I'm just using light pressure, I don't put so much force on the corners. I'm able to actually be more precise with the sanding block that way. So I kind of goes down the back of the key to the bottom. There's a little bit of a rolled edge there, so I sand around that. Then I start sanding on the bottom. Again, I'm sticking with the cross pattern and then length patterns, kind of going back and forth there, keeping my sanding block flat the entire time. The key rests on the balance rail, and then also it's where the front edge of the key is. You have your felt bushings and puncheons there that will set your key dip and stuff. So in general, I want the bottom of the key to be pretty flat. So I'm making sure I'm keeping my sanding block flat. I do go back and forth with kind of the longer strokes. And once I'm happy with where I'm at, then I just switch back to the sides. Now this is an area on the sides where I like to do this by hand rather than trying to use the power tool, even though I will, the rest of the key, I'll use the palm sander. This area where the key tops are going to be, I like to do these by hand so I can control the edges a little bit better. I think, like I said earlier in the video, I don't want to round any of those corners off because I'm going to end up trimming the trimming the white keys down to match the wooden keys. So the key tops are a little bit large and you file them to fit. So I want to have clean, crisp edges to file them to. So I do a little bit of sanding by hand on these sides, especially where the cutouts are. I'll flip the key over here in a little bit and I'll do the other side as well. But just trying to get those areas clean that are difficult to reach. You may notice as I'm doing this, I still have the old bushings in place. After the keys are sanded, I'm going to go through and remove all the old bushings and any debris that's in there. And I'll go back and rebush the keys then with brand new bushings. I don't know that you would want to do that. You'll get bushings if you're sanding the bushings if you're going to try to leave it that way. But in this case, a lot of them have actually degraded and they're completely gone or worn out anyway. So my plan was to go through and rebush all of the keys. So I'm just about finished with the hand sanding, and I switch over to the palm sander. And so I just go through with the palm sander, and I'm not really applying much pressure. I'm just letting the sander kind of walk across the key and keep it moving so I don't really burn, and not, I guess not necessarily burn, but just over sand in any particular area. So I'll just kind of go back and forth over the key, making sure I'm keeping the key very flat against the sander. And when I'm happy with what I see, I'll turn the key around and I'll get the other areas. A lot of times here I'm just trying to lightly clean up, so there's a light touch with the edge of the sandpaper. And that's the process I use. Adding the palm sander did save quite a bit of time. I'll renumber the keys from anything that's been removed or sanded off, and then continue the process from there.
So I'm calling it a night. I got about 10 keys done, so I'm making progress still. Got a ways to go, but I'm down to, I guess, 10 keys here, and then the last, well, this is 58, so I guess that would be 30 more keys. So I've got about 40 keys to go, so I'm a little bit past halfway on the whole key set. Just keep plugging away as it here we go, but I'll probably end this video here so I can get this content posted so you guys can see it because it's been a few weeks. But I'll resume with finishing the rest of this work and we'll just go from there.